Hey everybody, welcome to the RR Live Wellness Unfiltered podcast. My name is Robert Reams, the host and the producer of the show, and as always, I'm here to inform and inspire you, to educate you, and to motivate you so that you can take this information, put it to work in your lives, share it with your loved ones and your families. I've come a long way to have this opportunity to sit in front of you today. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome. Robert here, and I want to introduce my first guest here. Really good buddy of mine for a very, very long time. As all of you know, or if you don't know, you're going to know now. I spent 37 years of my life in LA. I'm now here in Franklin, Tennessee, and we're actually in Murfreesboro, Tennessee today. We're at Spread the Positive Studios, which is an amazing place. The Nashville Fit Network, the Nashville Fit Magazine. I want to thank Trent at Spread the Positive, and I also want to thank Terry at the Nashville Fit Network, and I also want to thank my team at Revive and Sustain Wellness. Big reason that I'm sitting here today. So I want to welcome my guest, my good buddy, Mr. Danny Valdez. Danny, how you doing, man?
Thanks be to God, and you, Robert. I'm doing very well.
Oh, man, how are you? You look awesome.
Oh, thank you. Doing my best with two toddlers at home.
You're a little bit more busy than you used to be, right?
Yes, definitely, most definitely.
That changes a few things, doesn't it, Danny?
It is a big life changer. Children show you how selfish you really are.
Yeah. Selfish kind of goes out the drain there for a little bit.
Yes,
so
no doubt.
Well, listen, God bless you, man. And I wanted to have you on here today. You and I have talked about doing this for a while. I think this is a really important story for everyone to hear, but especially folks out there in the professional world, and just in the world in general, because we seem to be under a lot of stress here in our country. And, you know, stress is the foundation for a lot of illness and conditions and disease out there. And a lot of the things that we go through are the results of just high chronic stress. And I work from a model, as you know, Danny, you've heard it a million times, but for those of you that haven't heard it, I work from a model called the RR Big Four of life. Now, when I start to work with somebody or a group, I lay this out first because these four aspects are part of all of our lives with really no exceptions. Number one is optimum exercise. Number two is optimum nutrition. Number three is proper rest. And number four is optimum stress management. Now, these four aspects of all of our lives, they work independently, but they also work synergistically. They work together to create our outcomes, create our health outcomes, create our weight control, the optimization of our health, and I'm talking body, mind, and spirit. I'm not talking about just looking good. I'm talking about feeling good from the inside out, because I work from the inside out. And they determine our perspectives. You're going to hear that a lot here in the RR Live Wellness Unfiltered podcast, because perspectives are everything. That's how we see ourselves. That's how we see the world. And that's how we see ourselves within the world. So, Danny, I'm going to take you back now. The title of this particular episode is 80% Heart Failure to Elite Athlete in 3 months. And again, this story is important because we have to know that at some level of our journey, especially when shit hits the fan and we do get sick, we have to know that part of it, not all of it, we have to depend on the medical community, and the medical community, for the most part, is really awesome. But we have to know that we can depend on ourselves. We are part of the healing. We are part of it. We as individuals. We can't just hand it over to the docs and just say, hey, just fix me. We've got to help to fix ourselves. And Danny, you kind of epitomize this whole process. So let's get right from the beginning of what you went through with the heart failure. Back in 2022, towards the end of 2022, you weren't feeling too well, were you?
No. I started out with what I thought was a cough, because my heart was kind of having some irregular heartbeats, but I wasn't sure if it was coming from my chest area or my heart. But I knew, something was not right.
Hmm.
You know, beginning, I'd say probably November into December. It was starting to get pretty bad.
Right.
Um, yep.
So you felt this coming on, but you're like, I'm indestructible. This is nothing, right? I got a little bug or something like that, right?
Yes, going through several different, health setbacks from blown discs, etc. You
Right.
just kind of learn to push through things and think, okay, I'll get better, it'll pass, and I'll keep going. But in this instance, it didn't. I started noticing an array of symptoms to arise from this condition.
Hmm. Well, I want to kind of lay a foundation here for, for everybody out there once again, because I want to illustrate the stress aspect of this and how stress induces many, if not all of these kind of issues. And also at the bottom of everything is metabolic health, the quality of our metabolic health, because at the base of most issues and disease and conditions, it stems from some sort of disruption in our metabolic health. Now, I want to lay out, Danny is the president, the founder, and the owner of a company called Gym Provisions that comes out of California. And Danny, it comes out of Oxnard, right? Or Ventura, or where do you center at?
Ventura County, yes, we work out of Thousand Oaks, and
Mm-hmm.
but we pretty much service the Southern California area from Santa Barbara down to San Diego, and actually most of the country. We
Right.
do a lot of work in the East Coast as well. A lot of our clients are bi-coastal, so a lot of work gets done along the Eastern Seaboard as well too.
Right. So it's Gym Provisions. I mean, I always when I talk about you, I talk about, well, he's number one in LA, but you really kind of you would be up there closer to number one in the nation for what you do. And just to list off this, Gym Provisions is everything that you would need when it comes to health, wellness equipment, gym equipment, whatever you need. I mean, he installs everything from like hotel gyms, school gyms, home gyms. I mean, you name it, he does it. And that's how I know Danny, because I was at one point in the equipment business, and that's how we met, 6 years ago, something like that. And Danny is his company. He's hands-on. I mean, he mentioned that thing about the blown disc. I know, because Danny not only calls the shots and he runs the show, but he also, what I like to say, pulls the cables too. Danny's no stranger to delivering a treadmill up 4 flights of stairs at one point if he needs to do that. Point being is there's a lot of stress in his business, and his client list includes people like Dr. Phil, Billy Crystal, Beyonce, Seth MacFarlane, Rob Lowe. I mean, God, the list goes on here. I can't even remember all of them. Simon Cowell, Britney Spears, Johnny Depp. I mean, you name it. This is the level that Danny works at. And there's a lot of stress involved in something like this. Everybody knows in business out there that stress is a big factor. I hear it all the time. And I hear it from a lot of men and women in business from age like 30 to about 48, because that's when people are not only running their business and elevating and trying to, create and enhance their careers, but they're also raising families. So it's 24/7.
100%. As
Yep.
I like to say, the open sign is always on.
Yeah, exactly. It's and that's, but the other side of that coin is you're a high achiever. And you have a high expectation and a high standard for yourself, and especially now you've got these kids. So I'm going to go back to 2022, Danny, because I want to lay it out. I think we've laid out the stress factor and what you do. But in 2022, when you started to feel these symptoms coming on, like you're Iron Man. We want to think that we are that. I do. I mean, I'm like, my wife has to reel me in sometimes and say, Rob, you don't know everything. You're not Iron Man. We're human. And you had your first child in 2022, correct, Danny?
2021, actually,
Okay.
May 16th of 2021.
Okay, to 21. So Zeke was about 1 year old when this started to come on.
Correct.
And let's add another dimension to this, because we talked about this, and this is part of your story. You and Myra were pregnant with your second child, Joaquin, And 8 months into that pregnancy, what happened?
Unfortunately, he was stillborn. We tried, emphatically to try and save him. We're seeing upwards of 9 to 10 doctors towards the end there, and the
Yeah.
best medical care in Los Angeles at UCLA, which that staff, they were all angels and really supportive through the whole time. But there's no words to describe anyone who I meet, that has gone through this. I just say there's no words, and they agree. There's no words to describe it.
Yeah. And you really, because I know other people that have gone through this, and my own mother lost a child at 5 weeks, and she never got over it.
No.
So I know, and I remember this very well, Danny, when you were going through this. And so that added to your stress, right?
Undoubtedly, yes. You don't really have time to mourn, like
Yeah.
you'd like to.
Right.
You got to keep going when you're the sole provider of a family.
Right.
Of course, the financial support, but of course, Myra takes care of those boys, tirelessly.
Right. So you could say on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest amount of stress, you were at about a 25 at that point.
I was definitely redlining, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Yeah. It was, you're just trying to get through, every hour. You're living hour to hour.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you found yourself then, fast forward into 2023, you found yourself back in urgent care. What happened that first trip to urgent care? What prompted that?
Figured, should probably try and address this, what I thought was a cough, and I was given a steroid pack and some antibiotics. I took that, felt a little bit better, and went through that whole cycle and said, well, I should probably return, it should,
Mm-hmm.
because I need more. I've ran out.
Mm-hmm.
Upon my return, I was treated by a different doctor who noticed this was not your average cough. It wasn't a cough at all, actually. And she ran some tests, and she said, you're having some serious organ failure, and urged me to go immediately to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And was willing to call me an ambulance. And I told her, thank you, but I'll drive myself. She said, I was afraid you were going to say that. But I said, I promise you I will go straight there, which I did.
Right. Well, that's you, Danny. That's you took control. You put your own life in your own hands at that point, I think.
Yeah, I still, didn't really understand the severity of the situation yet until I got to the hospital.
Now you got to the hospital then, and that's so you got there and you treated, and that's when you went into the tachycardia, correct?
I was in tachycardia for probably a couple months already, to be honest with you, Robert. I remember being at a client's home in Laguna, and I put my hands on his contact heart rate on his treadmill, and my resting heart rate was 110.
Right, and you were just kind of hanging. Right,
yeah,
at that point, you're thinking like, what the hell is this thing right or what is this heart rate monitor right? Should I fix this? Should I service this?
Yeah, exactly. But I thought I was getting interference or something from somewhere. Right. That can't be my heart rate.
Right, but and because that's what happens when you lead up to this, you are in tachycardia for predominantly in a tachycardia state leading into this. But that's what. But I want to talk about that tachycardia where you were like 10 beats. You told me you basically were 10 beats from death.
Basically, yes, and I guess you hit a certain beat that your body just becomes a human vibration machine, and you lose control of your heart, and that's that. Yeah.
So you were there, and that's when they put you in the hospital, right? I mean, you were
yes,
I
was admitted. I was admitted that day that I went from the urgent care to the hospital. They admitted me right within hours, and started a battery of treatments and scans. They were looking for blockages. They scanned my entire body for blockages and found none. So they were starting to get stumped themselves as to what was causing this this failure. And then they showed me a monitor with my heart, what looked like a deflating balloon, basically pumping very weak.
Right. You were at 20% capacity of your heart, correct?
Correct.
Which means that's where we get like you're basically at 80% heart failure.
Correct. Yeah. Very weak ejection fraction.
Right. And Danny mentioned that the ejection fraction is basically the amount of blood that your heart pumps per volume.
Correct.
And so that's kind of a measure of how they use for the strength of your heart. And so you were at that point, you were treated, and then by the grace of God, you were introduced after this hospital experience, you were able to go home alive, right? And you were referred to a cardiologist that was from a very trusted source, right?
Correct. Sadly, the hospital really did me no favors, and I was very anxious to get out of there. And again, nothing against the staff itself. The nurses were wonderful. Everyone was wonderful. Unfortunately, the cardiologist was not getting me the meds that I needed to get myself where I needed to be.
That's right.
So I asked to be released, and I was released, and spent the next couple of weeks searching for a cardiologist, and it was a little difficult. So by the grace of God, again, my children kind of saved me, because of all people, our midwife referred me to this cardiologist that was kind of at the end of his career, and but very respected. I went to him, and things started turning around from there.
Yeah. So I want to just kind of, for anybody just tuning in, or just to kind of refresh this, optimum exercise, optimum nutrition, proper rest, and stress management. So here was Danny in a situation where he was in kind of dire straits health-wise, and looking for help. And this cardiologist at the beginning, who you trusted and who you really respected, got you on the right medications, which this is part of it. I mean, I'm definitely not here to poo-poo the medical industry. I'm actually here to praise the medical industry in some of these type of situations, these life and death situations, is when I think the medical community really is at its optimum.
100%. Absolutely.
When there's a life to save, when it is in an acute situation, when there is a life to save, I think the medical industry is at the top of its game. So this cardiologist wanted to put you pretty much right away after you got on the right meds, wanted to put you on a defibrillator, right?
Correct. He wanted to install a defibrillator in my chest, which is basically a battery operated device that, I guess kicks in if you go into sudden heart failure, as I understood it.
Yeah.
And the thought of putting a foreign object in my body like that was just, a non-starter for me. I really didn't want to do that. I wanted to do anything I could to avoid that. I did not want that in my body whatsoever.
And I remember this conversation so well. You told him, you said, "Let me call my guy," right?
I did. I asked him. I said, "Doctor, I'm feeling much better. The water's leaving my body. I can walk several blocks now without gassing. Can I start some exercise?" And he said, "Well, I want to know what you're doing." And that's when you and I spoke, Robert, and you were very respectful and said, "Let him know that we won't do anything that he will not want you to do, and that we'll only do this with his blessing."
100%.
And he gave us the blessing, and off we went.
Yep. So just again, Danny, you can take a look at Danny here on the screen. He's a pretty athletic dude. And Danny, if you don't mind, you want to, I'm going to say mid-40s, but what's your age? Just so everybody knows out there, because
I'm 50.
You're 50. Okay.
I'm 50 years old now. Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. I know. Yeah.
You're 15 years from Medicare.
I hope I don't need it. We'll see.
Well, hey, listen, it's some of the best insurance, by the way, because I just got on it. So, but you were, so this is back, but you were 47 years old when this was going on.
Correct.
Yeah. And so you're in this doctor's office. He is helping you. You're starting to feel better. You're an athletic guy. You're a strong-willed, determined, like, any shit that's in my way, I'm going to conquer kind of a guy. And
have to.
And this dude tells you that, and respectfully, he told you were going to need to be on a defibrillator. And I remember that. And you called me and we talked, because you told me, what'd you tell him? Give me 6 weeks. What did you say?
Yes. Give me 6 weeks. Give me 6 weeks, and let's see how I'm doing from there. And I'll do my very best. And I promised you, Robert, that I would do everything you tell me to the T. I try and be a good patient, because I do not want to say something didn't work if I didn't follow their protocol,
Right.
So
right.
I try and be a good patient.
Right. And we were under the blessing of the doc. So I made sure this has to be, this kind of situation, when it's life and death, it has to be done right. I didn't just take over. We were working together to get you healthy.
Correct.
So
Correct.
back to, the RR Big Four life. Let's talk about exercise first. Danny is a guy that I can remember. I can remember picturing back at the busybody days. I can see Danny doing deadlifts with like, if I remember this right, Danny, they were like 200-pound dumbbells in each hand.
It was 100
I
pounds
mean,
each hand. I'd love to, inflate that, but they were 100 in each hand.
but that's a lot.
Yeah,
That's a lot
it was a knot.
for a
Yeah,
yeah,
it was more than what
for
I
a
weighed at the
dumbbell
time.
deadlift. Yeah,
Yeah, it
for a
was more than
dumbbell
what I weighed.
deadlift. And what did, let's put it out there. What was your top? What was your peak as far as like one rep maximum in terms of a bench press?
I've got 405 up one time. Yeah, and that
Okay.
was in my 20s, and I learned to not push that anymore. I try to keep my
Right.
my strength training sensible.
Right. Right. But
For
you
the
went from
sake of
405 to probably about 250.
yeah,
Right. I'm
exactly.
trying to illustrate like, hey, look, Danny has the ability and had the ability and still does if he needs to push a lot of weight, and I'm going to imagine that your squat one rep maximum had to be well over 400, correct? At one
Correct.
point. Okay.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. In high school, I remember benching with a bronze medalist. He was a shot putter, and
right.
in freshman year in high school, I was benching 315.
Okay. Okay. So yeah,
Yeah.
you're talking elite. This is what I'm saying. Elite, elite level, elite athlete, NFL type of level of strength here.
I started lifting in second grade, basically.
Right.
And lifted all through elementary school, high school, and my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And
And that gave you the passion to get into the field that you're in now. I mean, that's really
100%.
kind of
Yeah,
what led to that.
I knew what I wanted to do. When I was a teenager, no doubt
Right.
about it.
Right. So we had to reel that in right away because that type of exercise was not going to do you any favors after 80% heart failure.
No, no.
So we got you into more of a circuit style, more of what I like to call the RR push pull press system, where you do a moderate amount of weight, and not that you can't challenge yourself, but like it was more of a let's to sum it up, more of an approach for health and not being
Ego.
the man at the gym. Yeah,
Ego.
yeah. Ego, being the man at the gym or whatever. You had to reel it into like more of a longevity type of workout. And this is the kind of workout or a derivative of this that I work with most people with, because look, if you come to me and you are an athlete and you are an elite athlete, I can train you that way. For the most part out there, people just want health. We want good health from the inside out. Now, the next one was nutrition. We went to a very, very specific version of my plate structure system, correct?
Correct.
And you ate, the great thing about plate structure is you have a format. There is definitely a format. It's definitely a system, and you plug in what you like into the system. And as long as, this system is never failed. So when somebody follows this, and especially when they follow it to the T like Danny did, what kind of results do you get, Danny?
It was kind of astonishing, to be quite honest with you. I noticed right away my musculature was coming back quite rapidly, and then I remember that first workout, like savoring every rep. Every rep meant so much to me because I didn't think I was going to ever exercise again.
Yeah.
But as I started, increasing the volume of resistance, I could see, my muscle tissue coming back, and having been so emaciated from not doing anything for months, and then all the water retention, losing that, I could see clearly what gains I was making.
Right.
And I finally had the physique. What's fun, the irony is I finally had the physique I always wanted, but never trained for properly.
Right. And that's what I'm going to get to, because this is, when we talk about this big four, because the next aspect is sleep, proper rest. And you, even before the heart failure, Danny, and give and take, for the past your adult life,
I know where you're going with this.
Let's say you tended to burn the candle at both ends. I mean, let's put it that way.
I like to have a good time, no doubt about it. I work hard. I like to play hard, and being a single guy on the west side of Los Angeles, it's hard to just stay home all day,
Yeah. No, enough
all
said.
night.
Everybody gets the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no,
But
I
that's,
had my fun.
yeah, and but to deepen the meaning of that, I'm talking about you're running this company at a high level company at the high level that you were working at. You're responsible for everything, and you're burning the candle at both ends. So proper rest then leads to really the first three aspects of the big four lead to the fourth one, which is most important here today, and probably most important message of all here: stress management. You were stressed out of your mind. And I mean, you were at your peak, and at 20, you can handle this. But when you're knocking the door on 50 or even knocking the door on 40, things start to change and you just don't recover as well. And the door kind of closes on that. The door kind of closes on that, and you got to put the clamps on that and start to make some changes. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
You don't bounce back as fast as you did in your 20s, no doubt about it. And you have to be
Right.
more diligent about everything. You have to
Mm-hmm.
really, uh, be disciplined about your sleep, your nutrition, your exercise. And
Right.
I learned a lot from my clients as well too, because obviously I'm
Mm-hmm.
dealing with these high level individuals, and I see what they do and how disciplined they are and how they maintain
Mm-hmm.
their routine and how important exercise is to them.
Yeah.
And I also took a lot of notes from them as well.
Right. Right. And when I talk about when I say these work in synergy, if you're stressed out of your mind, you're not resting, and then people try to exercise their way out of that, and that just adds to the cortisol. That becomes like chronic cortisol, because I mean we need cortisol, we need stress hormone. If all of a sudden me and Trent are sitting here in the studio and a bear comes at the door and wants to attack us, we need that jolt of cortisol to get us the F out of here, But when you have chronic cortisol levels, those are the problems. And we'll do other shows on this to illustrate the kind of the intricacies of that. But let's get to the fact that, or the point in this story where we did this for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
You did you did this specific exercise program. You did the plate structure. You got your rest under control. You got and as a result, you got your stress under control. You also had another baby on the way at this time, correct?
Correct. We were pregnant with our third son, Sebastian,
Right.
who that was one of the hardest things, was watching Myra be pregnant, and I was just kind of dragging myself
Mm-hmm.
around. I was not of much use or
Yeah.
help,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
wondered, what am I going to even live to see this baby born? So
Right.
those all things weighed on top of me. But again, I stuck to the program,
Mm-hmm.
and here I am.
And Danny, just to backtrack for just a quick second, because I think this is really important for everybody to know. You're sitting there in that, you're at one point in the hospital, you're 10 beats away to that tachycardia level where you could be taken off the earth any second. What goes through your mind, man?
All I could think about was how I'm going to get out of this. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I thought about. Not am I going to live, but how am I going to do it? And
Mm-hmm.
the frustration also, I thought to myself, I said, I have access to some of the best resources for health in the world. And here I am in this hospital bed,
Yeah.
and I thought to myself, like, once I get myself out of here, I will, find my way through this. I will find the help I need, and I will get it. And
Mm-hmm.
I felt like those guys that used to come into the store, Rob. You remember them? How these big belly guys, and how they used to be these big jocks, and
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sitting there in the hospital telling the doctors and nurses, I actually am a healthy guy, believe it or not. And they're like, really? And it's like I have sacks of fluid hanging off my sides, and I can't even I couldn't even put my shoes on because my feet were so swollen
Yeah.
with but nobody believed me. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I have to get out of here. That's basically
Mm-hmm.
it. And I need to get the help I need to get.
Well, this show today and this story is about. I mean, I'm telling this because I think it's really important to tell your story, Danny, because you're a close personal friend of mine. But I'm also that people need to learn from your situation, that they are not indestructible. And the things I'm talking about here in terms of self-care, you don't have self-care, you don't have shit. You can have all the money and all the friends and everything in your life. But you know, when it gets down to like you're knocking on the door of your grave, none of that shit matters.
Correct.
And so you've got to hone in your self-care, and you got to reel yourself in and take care of yourself, because we can live a long, vibrant life. I've never bought into this I'm getting old crap. That's a myth that that's a myth that we have been manipulated into thinking that this is, that at a certain point it's over and we have to give our control off to the medical community, and we have to go to Walgreens and CVS and Rite Aid and depend on these medications. This is not the case. You have to take control, which is what you did, Danny. Like you said, you had these resources. Well, I'm going to friggin' use them because here I am. And so let's get to the point where you went back to this is after 3 months. You've been doing the program with me. You were on the medications. This cardiologist comes, you have one of your follow-ups, and you go in to this cardiologist and he sees you. And I think one of the things that stands out to me is he said, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. Talk about that. Okay, so Danny, to sum all this up here and to get to what I think is one of the most amazing parts of this story of the actual journey of your treatment. You went to this follow-up with your cardiologist after we had been doing our thing for 3 months, and after you had been being very strict with the medication regimen, very strict with what we were doing, everything. You had started to go back to work too, right? I mean, you were working, you
Oh,
were running your
I
business.
never stopped working, to be honest with you.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were back in, but you were starting to handle everything just a little bit better, correct? Yeah.
Correct.
So you went to this follow-up with your cardiologist, and tell us what happened.
Actually, it was I didn't go to a follow-up. He was so excited, he just called me out of the blue.
Oh, because of your blood test, correct?
Blood tests, and we also did some more echocardiograms and a few other scans, and he was so excited. I mean, he's not a very animated guy, and like I said, he's at the end of his career, so he's probably seen it all. But apparently, this one stunned him. He called me, and he was so excited to tell me that my heart has not just gained or made a full recovery, but beats like an athlete,
right?
Like a high level athlete. He said, I've never seen anything like it before in my life,
right?
And I was blown away, and I said, so what does this mean, Doc? He says, well, he goes, I'll take the defibrillator off the table. Wow. And I thought that was the best news I heard. I was like, that is it. I was so happy when I heard that. And he was just, elated himself. And I'm like, thank you, Doc. Thank you, Rob, because it was those two hand in hand that really, really got me to where I needed to be.
Right. I remember you mentioning, saying he's been doing this for 40 years. He'd never seen anything like it.
Correct. Yes. He was very excited about the progress, and I explained to him exactly what we were doing each and every visit I had with him,
right?
And he saw my health coming back. He'd asked me what specifically what types of exercises we were doing, what I was eating, etc. And he was very happy with the progress we were making, and so was I, obviously.
He probably wishes he would have met you 20 years ago in his career.
I'm just glad I caught him before he retired.
Yeah, that's for sure. What a blessing. What a blessing. Absolutely. That was. So just to sum this up, you led into this very, very stressful situation. Led into it. You had 80% heart failure. You were knocking on death's door. You by the grace of God, you get to the right cardiologist. You call me. We get you on this regimen, and in 3 months, you go from 80% heart failure, meaning you have 20% of the capacity of your heart working. You are in a state of tachycardia where you basically 10 beats away from death. And in 3 months, you have the ejection fraction, which is the measure of the efficiency and the strength of the heart. You have the ejection fraction of an elite athlete in 3 months. That'd be correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And my cardio is never better than, at that point. Like I remember just blowing through, work projects, and just, we'd be in the middle of a serious, gym move or whatever, and I'd take the stairs. I'd tell the guys,
Right.
I'm going to run the stairs with the weights. I want to do it because I don't enjoy doing steady state cardio, so I'd rather, take a set of 5 through 100 dumbbells up a staircase than,
Right.
walk on a treadmill.
Right. Which
But
is what you learn. I mean, that's another takeaway from everybody out there. It's like, well, steady state cardio is great if you have time for it, but a lot of people listening to this, and which is most people at this point, we don't have a lot of time. And
no,
sprint training, HIIT training, what I call metabolic burst training, MBT, is basically what you incorporated once you
which
were
was
cleared for that. Right.
that's what I enjoyed so much about your regimen, Rob, that I could get it in, within 30 minutes or less even,
Mhm.
and I have endless energy for the rest of the day.
Right. Right. And this is 2023. So fast forward to today. Your third son is born healthy. You're
Hmm.
thriving. You're still, I mean, you're just feeling amazing, right?
I feel great. I feel better than I ever have. I honestly don't remember feeling this good in my 20s. To be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you,
Right.
and again, the training is a huge aspect of it. I'll be honest, Rob. I remember one time we were hanging out at your house and having dinner, and you were talking to me about this type of training, and I was still in my meathead phase of weightlifting, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought, oh, that's nice, maybe for like, guys who don't want to really put muscle on, or
Right. Little skinny
get
guys like me.
yeah, just don't want to get strong. I'm like, okay, well, maybe when I'm 80, I'll take a look at it. But I never thought I'd actually be doing it, and I never
Yeah.
thought I would get the results that I got from it. And of course, it took, me being brought to the brink of death to, submit to it and say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
great, I'll give it a shot. And I absolutely love it. I love the
Mm-hmm.
way this program, and the way you were talking about the different aspects of health,
Yeah.
feed into each other. It's the same thing with the training.
Yeah.
That one exercise primes you for the next,
Yeah.
and you're warmed up. You feel good. You go right through it, and you have more energy. You don't feel like you need to go and take the rest of the day off.
Right. 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 Which is what a lot, I remember, some of the level of workouts you were doing, you would get to that level and then you'd stay out till 2 a.m. And that, and
Yeah.
that's, and I say that because look, we all have done that. I mean, I'm saying, and because a lot of people listening, the same thing, but again, you get to a certain point and you got to think about, I work with people, and this is the kind of thing I want to illustrate. And this story again illustrates this. I work with people from the inside out. You can look fantastic, but you can be a hot freaking mess inside. You can just be like, I mean, you've seen that with the bodybuilding world, and you see it a lot today. I mean, there's a lot of your influences out there that look fantastic, but that's the same thing. They're full of shit and they're fake.
Correct.
And this is training for life. And I like to say, you do the work from the inside out, your look comes along for the ride. And when you see me post that and you see me doing videos on that now, because you see that and you're going to continue to see it, this is what I'm talking about. And Danny, just to wrap up, you were at your highest point, you were 240 pounds, just loaded with fluid.
Yes.
You went down to as low as 180 just to shed all that. And then you ramp back up into your exercise and you're at a healthy about 200 pounds right now.
Yeah. Even 200 pounds.
Yeah. And you're looking at a guy that probably, used to train, had the look of like an ex NFL or D1 lineman. Now he looks like a swimmer. And, and true testament to you, Danny, for what you did was you shed all that stuff that was working for you before. That was working from, there was a lot of ego involved, and there was a lot, just like there is in the fitness business. Mm-hmm. And you are in the fitness business and you want to present well, but probably you feel now that you present better than you ever have before, right?
Absolutely. Now it's like there's the health aspect is definitely now incorporated into my life and lifestyle. Mm-hmm. It's from the eating, the sleeping, the training, everything, is all tied together. It's not just lift heavy weight and shove as much protein down your pie hole that you can get.
Right.
It's about proper nutrition, doing everything in a timely manner, and being diligent about it all.
Sleep and stress. Yep. So listen, I'm going to wrap it up, but thank you for sharing this story. I think it's a really important one, like I said, from the beginning, and I'm glad we finally got to do this. And, Danny, you've been a buddy of mine a long time, and the world's a better place with you here in it.
Likewise, Robert. Likewise, Rob. There's three things I'll tell people. Of course, you have to take care of yourself, but what will get you through anything is your faith, your family, and your friends. The three F's. And you have to take care of yourself first. You have to, be responsible. And Rob, through all of my trials of life, in health issues, from my disc blown to this, you've been there, and I can't thank you enough. My family can't thank you enough.
Well, I appreciate you, Danny. And by the way, one of them T-shirts you're wearing, I want one of them in a half hoodie.
It's on the way.
All right, I'll cut the half hoodie part. Okay. Just send the hoodie, and I'll slice it up to my fashion, whatever that is. All right, Danny.
Guaranteed, Rob.
All right, man. Thank you again for coming on, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Love you. Take care.
Okay, love you too, man.
Bye-bye.
Hey, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in to the RR Live Wellness Unfiltered podcast. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the show. And don't forget the Revive and Sustain Wellness app. Go to www.reviveandsustain.com and download the app. 42 years of my experience at your fingertips. Till next time, everybody, in great health.